Yesterday, the Yankees acquired 30-year-old right-handed pitcher Colten Brewer. He's actually a former Yankee farmhand, spending time with the organization back in 2017 after they selected him in the Rule 5 draft, accelerating from high A to double A and then triple A, where he struggled mightily. He ended up signing with the San Diego Padres ahead of the 2018 season, and since then he's bounced around from the Padres to the Red Sox to the Royals and then to the Rays. But after a strong spring training, a stacked Rays team couldn't keep Brewer on the Major League roster because they had too many pitchers, thus they attempted to reassign him back to triple A. This triggered a clause in Brewer's contract that would allow him to opt out and elect free agency, where the Yankees promptly scooped him up. That being said, who is Colten Brewer? And more importantly, why did the Yankees rush to pick up Brewer and option in-house guys like Greg Weissert, Matt Crook, and Ian Hamilton? In this video, I hope to break down Colten Brewer's pitch mix, what he does well, and why I believe he can contribute to this bullpen. Before we do that though, let's talk about today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Baseball's back, folks, and everyone's looking for a fantasy app to use this season, but look no further than Underdog. Their Pick'em game mode puts you against the projection as you battle by selecting the higher or lower totals on different projected stats for a game. You can select up to 5 players, allowing you to win up to 20 times your money, or you can select an insurance option, which lowers the maximum amount of money you can win, but also protects you and allows you to win money even if all 5 players don't end up hitting their projections. That being said, there's also draft formats where you don't have to worry about getting trade offers or setting your lineups, and it's super easy to get started today. It offers weekly and season-long game modes, and it's not too late to sign up for Underdog Fantasy, because if you sign up with the code Fireside, you'll get a 100% match on your initial deposit up to $100. So don't delay, download the app and use the code Fireside to get started today. Colten Brewer has had a very unimpressive Major League career up to this point, tossing 91 innings at a 5.04 ERA and just a 6.9% strikeout to walk percentage. That being said, he's displayed impressive stuff in the past, though it seems as if his pitch mix and command have never been refined enough to succeed at the Major League level. He signed with the Rays this past offseason and was a non-roster invite for spring training, where he made some tweaks to his game. 2020 is the most recent season we have of Brewer with a decent sample size, and his pitch usage was pretty underwhelming. Using his cutter 43.9% of the time, his curveball 32.8% of the time, and his slider 20.8% of the time, he was barely using what the Rays would later identify as his best pitch. In spring training, the Rays flipped his usage on his head. He'd use his slider primarily at 36.3%, his sinker at 35.2%, and his curveball at 26.4%. This change in pitch mix matches an organizational philosophy the Rays have had that the Yankees have successfully begun to adopt. If you have a nasty pitch, throw it, and throw it often. His cutter and curveball are still really good pitches as well, and thus the distribution of this pitch mix is going to be pretty even. But by incorporating the slider more, he has a primary pitch that is effective at generating whiffs, can generate softer contact, and he can locate pretty well. Sliders have become increasingly popular in the Yankee organization as they've had the second highest minor league slider usage across all levels in 2022. This is a team that loves the slider, and this seems like a match made in heaven for the New York Yankees. Let's break down the specs on the slider among other pitches so that we can get an idea as to what each pitch offers here. First, let me explain what the two movement metrics we'll be discussing are. Known as induced vertical break and horizontal break, induced vertical break measures the vertical movement of the pitch with a higher IVB, meaning more carry, allowing it to work up in the strike zone. Let's use Garrett Cole for an example, who generated 18.4 inches of induced vertical break in 2022, an elite mark for a backspinning fastball like his, and it's why he gets so many swings and misses. For pitches that prioritize drop or sink, having fewer or even negative induced vertical break is ideal. For example, Clay Holmes averaged 5.2 inches of induced vertical break in 2022, which is well below Garrett Cole's, but he's a guy using a sinker trying to get ground balls and throw it down in the strike zone, thus he uses and needs less IVBs. Next is horizontal break, which I think is a much easier metric to explain here. Horizontal break simply tracks your horizontal movement, with positive representing glove side movement for a righty and arm side movement for a lefty, while negative represents the inverse of that. For Colten Brewer, he throws a baby sweeper, averaging 86.5 miles an hour and 2,784 RPMs of spin on his slider, with 8.2 inches of horizontal break and 0.5 inches of induced vertical break. It's very similar to Clark Schmidt's slider, which has now been reclassified as a sweeper. His slider run a 114.3 stuff plus, making it a strong pitch for his arsenal. For those unaware as to what Stuff Plus is, it's simply a metric that rates the quality of your pitch based on characteristics such as velocity, movement, how it plays off your fastball, and release points, with 100 representing average. This slider is a really strong pitch, and the Yankees should view it as his most reliable offering, and Stuff Plus supports that. His cutter is also excellent, averaging 93.8 miles an hour of velocity with 2,428 RPMs of spin, 1.9 inches of horizontal break, and 9.8 inches of induced vertical break. This pitch is also similar to the cutter that Clark Schmidt throws, and this makes sense since they're both natural supinators, which means that they get around the baseball when they throw it, explaining their innate ability to spin the baseball extremely well when throwing pitches that generate glove side movement. It's a natural thing when throwing. Some guys tend to pronate or supinate a little bit. It just depends on who you are. This cutter was excellent in spring training for Brewer, generating a 116.7 Stuff Plus, making it one of the best cutters in baseball. Fastball Stuff Plus tends to stabilize pretty quickly, and the specs on it back up this idea that his cutter is really good. It serves as a really good offering regardless of who's at the plate, and it'll get called strikes, whiffs, and soft contact. Lastly, we have the curveball, averaging 81.4 miles an hour with 2,872 RPMs of spin, 12.5 inches of horizontal break, and negative 11.2 inches of induced vertical break. This pitch is absolutely filthy, and this gives him an excellent offering against left-handed batters. Why are curveballs from righties so effective versus lefties? This is because left-handed batters are more likely to be deceived on north-south movement rather than east-west movement from right-handed batters. They can track horizontal movement pretty easily compared to righties, but horizontal movement is pretty tricky. His arsenal is complete with pitches that serve distinct purposes and play really well off of each other, and his curveball actually happens to be his best pitch in terms of Stuff Plus at a 117.4. It also helps that he had an incredible spring training where he tossed 9.1 scoreless innings with a 42.9% strikeout percentage and a whopping 43.2% called strike plus whiff percentage. That's right, Brewer's getting a called strike or swing and a miss on almost half the pitches he threw in spring training. Now, spring training stats don't really matter, but it's good to see elite pitch movement get rewarded with elite results. He finished camp with a 115.2 Stuff Plus, which is a really encouraging mark. Among all Yankee pitchers that were considered, which will include Crook, Weissert, and Hamilton for, he only trailed Weissert in Stuff Plus at 116.2. But we know that Weissert does have some command issues, whereas Brewer doesn't necessarily have those same command issues, and Weissert has minor league options that they can utilize. This means that the Yankees can keep as many MLB caliber arms as possible, and while he may just be a journeyman reliever who the Yankees dumpster dived on to some, to those who are paying close attention, this could end up being one of the low-key moves that we know Brian Cashman can always pull off. We'll have to wait and see for some results, but buy some stock on Colten Brewer while he's still unknown, and let me know what you guys think about this move in the comments below and what you guys thought about today's video. We really appreciate your guys' continued support, and if you guys could drop a like and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate that as well. Turn on your post notifications so you know when we upload, as we've got daily podcasts, post-game recaps, prospect reports, and analysis like this. We're also doing more creative content about the Yankees, and we hope to include you, the audience, in what we're aiming to achieve this season. You make this show happen, and you can keep track with all the content we're throwing at you by following our social media accounts as well. We're on Facebook and Twitter, where Alex and our graphics guy Danny post stats, updates, and news that you guys will love. On Instagram and TikTok, we also have short-form content with remarkably creative ideas from our guy Sam, and you can check out Empire Sports Media, where you can read articles about the Yankees from Nick and myself. Also, check out what's going on with your favorite New York sports team on Empire Sports Media. We've got you guys covered with every New York sports team there. All of this and more is right here with the Fireside community and Empire Sports Media, and we'd love to see you become a part of it. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Ryan Garcia, and stay hot, Yankee fans. I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.